Good evening and a warm welcome to our respected panel and all attendees from across the globe. I welcome you all to the NetworX Webinar Series 2020 curated by ACETECH. ACETECH, being the largest networking platform of the country, is honored to bring together the expert industry leaders through our webinar series. It is a platform which has seen thoughts evoking from the top leaders in architectural, design, construction, and manufacturing space. And this has been the very core at ET ACETECH since its inception. Shishajam Flat Glass conducts Shishajam Group activities in the flat glass sector. It is a global player and a market leader in Europe. Over the years, Shishajam has grown exponentially across Europe and other emerging markets. It has proactively invested in latest technology, which has helped the company develop high-quality glass solutions. The company expanded operations in the overseas markets, envisioning regional leadership with an aim to create a stronghold in developing and developed markets. SFG plans to continue its regional and international growth with its forthcoming investments in Turkey, the Balkans, Eastern Europe, Egypt, Russia, and India. Shishajam Flat Glass manufactures all kinds of glass, right from float glass, ultra clear glass, coated glass, high performance glass, decorative glass, safety and security glass, and all kinds of mirror. And this while adhering to the EN standards too. I would thank our sponsors, Shishajam Flat Glass, for supporting this topic today. Would like to play a small video. Good evening and a warm welcome. Would like to introduce the esteemed panel. I'm sure they need no introduction, but I would like to take the opportunity to do that. We have with us architect Reza Kabul, President, ARC Studio Inc. ARC is a comprehensive global design studio with 3 decades of proven expertise in project design and delivery, ranging from master plans and townships to industrial, hospitality, commercial and institutional, educational and residential segments. ARC is headquartered in Mumbai, India, with offices in Pune, India, and San Francisco, California, USA. Is a full-service architectural, interiors, landscape design, and planning company. Pioneers of high-rise design in India, ARC is renowned for its award-winning landmark projects. We welcome you, Architect Reza Kabul. Thank you. Architect Esra Aldinogle, architect and architectural glass product manufacturer, SFG. Architect Esra graduated from TED Ankara College in 1990. She received a Bachelor of Architecture degree from Middle East Technical University, Faculty of Architecture in 1994. After graduation, she worked with Erkut Sahiban's Architectural Office, ZD Construction, Archipel Architectural Office. Her experience includes several projects for education, housing, tourism, and commercial design. Since 2006, she has been working for Shishajam Flat Glass Company. She is working as a product manufacturer for architectural glass. We welcome you, ma'am. Mr. Bobby Mukherjee, Chairman, Mukherjee and Associates. BM&A specializes in high-end luxury projects from real estate to hospitality to master planning. They are specialists in architectural, interior, landscape and lighting design. In hospitality design, they're perhaps the biggest players in South Asia. They are common to Taj Hotels and Resorts, Hyatt, Marriott International, Intercontinental Hotel Group, Lemon Tree Hotels, Radisson Hotels, Lalit, Sahara Hospitality, etc. BM&A are also the master planner of India's premier resort city of Sahara's Ambi Valley, with projects done in 18 locations across India and 15 countries internationally. Winner of 35 national and international awards, BM&A have accomplished projects worth a couple of billion USD. We welcome you, Bobby, sir. Architect Ravindra Kumar, Director, Head Design Venkatraman Associates, Principal Architect at Pragoop Group. Architect Ravindra Kumar heads design as a director at Venkatraman Associates. His strength has been in providing innovative design solutions to emerging project trends in Asia. Specialization of new laboratory facilities, technology campuses and R&D facilities, new building typologies and understanding the need to integrate building and landscape aesthetics has been his unique abilities. Group is a research lab and an architecture studio, has pioneered in rigorous sustainable approach to design through work that spans the spectrum from master plans to furniture design. He is a visiting faculty at various departments of architecture all across the globe and was nominated as the brand ambassador for sustainability initiatives towards green architecture, namely Earth Matters, to name only one of the many few. We welcome you, Architect Ravindra. Mr. Naveen Keswani, Chairman and Managing Director, Aluplex. Mr. Naveen Keswani is the pioneer of the Indian facade industry and has been awarded the President's Udyog Ratan Award in as early as 1985 from the President of India for his excellence in the design of aluminum windows. Aluplex, India's leading facade company that has completed prestigious projects pan-India, as well as India's largest unitized glazing project in Hyderabad. Mr. Keswani has always strived to redevelop the design sphere, working in close collaboration with the best architects and renowned facade consultants, from the preliminary design stage, aiding them in realizing the concepts. We welcome you, Mr. Naveen. Architect Santha Gour, Director, Infinitti Design Studio, an alumni of the prestigious Sir J.J. College of Architecture. Ms. Santha is a co-founder of Infinitti Design Studio and also leads Planet 3 Studio Architecture Private Limited, at a young internationally acclaimed practice representing the vanguard of new design in India. The studios are recognized for their work through 30 prestigious international and national awards over past years. The studio's work has been displayed at museums and galleries in New York, Barcelona, and Singapore. Currently working on a prestigious project like the International Cruise Terminal in Mumbai, the first of its kind in the country. Large-scale education and residential projects throughout the country, and various interior design projects in corporate and residential sector. I can go on with the eminent panel, but having said this, Architect Reza Kabul, sir, the mic is all yours. We look forward to the panel discussion.
Hi, good evening, good morning. Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, the panelists, Bobby, Naveen, Isra, Santha, and Ravi. It's great being with you guys and on this panel of discussion of glass. So let me first just go through the history of glass. Glass was first, discovered in 3500 BC. It was discovered by the, Egyptian and the East Mesopotamia, that is the modern day Syria. It has evolved and transformed into various forms since then. Plate glass, float glass, fused glass, magnifying glass, and also the reading glasses that we use. Glass is one of the most remarkable building material and has its many benefits. It provides access to natural light. It brings the outdoors to the inside and vice versa. It has a great aesthetic value. With the introduction of bent glass, laminated glass, heat strengthened, and various other forms of glass, it actually opened a lot of avenues for all our, the architectural field and the architectural design. I would like to first go to Isra, and since she is one of the persons on this panel who has been dealing with glass actually, what should be the key concerns when choosing the right glass for an architectural project? What are the trends in glass witnessed post COVID-19?
Thank you, Reza. I would like to share my screen. Sorry. Thank you, Reza, for taking us to a lovely journey in history of glass. It's a pleasure to be with our panelists and the audience listening to us. Şişecam Group, with 85 years of experience, operates in 4 different areas of glass. We have 43 plants in 14 countries with 22,000 employees. We are very proud to be the only global company operating in every field of glass. According to the production capacity, we are the largest flat glass producer in Europe and among the 5 largest companies in the world. We have 19 plants in 10 countries, from Egypt to Russia, from Italy to India, serving to construction, automotive, energy, and household appliance industries. Our strategy is to create value in the industry by using the most advanced technologies and innovations. We have sales in more than 110 countries and reference projects all over the world. This is our headquarters in Istanbul. We call it Heart of Glass. The project's design is the result of a collaboration between the world-famous architectural group, SOM, and Turkish firm Design Group. We have an experience center in our headquarters, which invites us to an impressive journey and exploration towards the nature of glass itself. We are offering glass consultancy to decision makers for the selection of right glass. And right solution. We handle the projects from design stage until the building's opening stage. We believe that each project has its own unique story. The selection of building materials on project basis is very important. In order to choose the right glass solution, construction industry professionals need technical information of glass products. What do we do? During design stage of a project, architects share their first drawings with us, and together we work on their preliminary design and recommend them not only the right product according to climate and function of the building, but also some tips for optimum budgeting. Then at the application drawings stage comes to static and performance calculations. We are calculating performance values of the requested combinations. Then we share the reports of the performance values and specification documents with the architects, engineers, or investors in order to include in bid documentation. Let me start by explaining some of the performance values which is defined in glass. Light transmittance is the proportion of visible light that is transmitted through the glass. Light reflectance is the proportion of visible light that is reflected from glass. Solar factor is the percentage of total solar radiant heat energy entering the inner space through the glass. The lower solar factor means better solar control. U value is the measure of the rate of heat loss of a building component. The lower U value means better heat control. Physical requirements are extremely important for glass selection. Also, each building has different requirements in compliance with its function. I know that in India, your main problem is the excess heat of sun and noise control. Using right glass for the project is very critical to meet building physics criteria. Otherwise, there might be some cooling or heating problems that can occur later. For cooling calculations, solar factor, and for heating calculations, U value should be considered. Another performance value that we should think as a reference is color rendering index value. It describes how much an object's color changes when it is observed through glazing. It defines the spectral quality of glass in transmission. The higher color rendering index means the more natural the reflected colors appear. Let's take a short look to some of the facts that we should consider before choosing the glass. In the spaces that need to have bright interiors, such as residence, private houses, and educational projects, products with high light transmittance should be preferred. On the other hand, uncontrolled light entry into the interior of commercial buildings can cause glare on screens. For shops and restaurants, products that have high transparency and low reflection value should be considered to see objects behind the glass better. The daylight requirement of the project should be determined according to the glass ratio on the facade. The glass type that is recommended for a facade with entire glass and with a glass ratio below 50% are completely different. In projects such as offices, hospitals, airports, hotels, effective solar control should be considered, as well as gray control. So which products are suitable for which building types? We can recommend to use solar control low-E coated glass products with highlight transmittance about 60% in order to benefit from natural light as much as possible. However, solar control should also be considered according to the direction of the facade. In projects such as offices, hospitals, and city hotels, which have multiple stories and high glass ratio, especially during the summer, in addition to effective solar control, glare control should also be considered. In these projects, we can recommend to use temperable solar control low-E glass with a light transmittance level 50%. Especially if there are shading elements designed on the facade, the solar factor of the glass is found by evaluating these elements while performing mechanical calculations. Different products can be used in different facades of the building as long as the architectural form and geometry of the building allows. On the western and southern facades, products that provide more effective solar control can be chosen, while on the northern facade, products that provide high light transmittance can be preferred. Products with light transmittance lower than 40% and G value lower than 25% are recommended for the projects that require controlled light transmittance and more efficient solar control, such as offices, hotels in warm climates, and also skylights. Glass is a fragile material and standard float glass has low tolerance to impacts. According to safety and security needs, tempered glass or laminated glass should be used to avoid injuries that might be caused by glass breakage in critical locations. The outdoor noise level can be reduced to the level of a quiet atmosphere with right glass solutions. There are some different methods to reduce noise. We can apply these methods according to the needs of the project, respectively. Visual requirements is another point to be considered for choosing the right glass. For low-story residences or hotel projects where the scenery stands out, we can recommend to use neutral 7037, which has low window reflectance value that allows the view of the scenery and also highlight transmittance that prioritizes transparency in order to carry the nature to the inner space. By March, a new period started in our lives all over the world. We had very hard days all together, but now it is time to redesign our daily life after recover. The only way we are getting closer to a healthy world is the proper practice of social distancing. We got a clear-cut solution that's a glass apart. With the smart use of glass, we can still enjoy human interaction without the risks of human touch. Glass allows us to see each other, talk to each other, when we have the proper design for it. But also, it's a barrier. It provides us social distancing perfectly. In the near future, we may give up working in open plan offices and start working in glass rooms or glass cubicles. There are too many benefits of glass in workplaces. It is hygienic, easy to clean, eco-friendly, and long-lasting. It has scratch, impact, and breakage resistance. Nowadays, we are getting used to see these solutions more often. For example, in a fancy restaurant, in a cafe, school, pharmacy, library, hairdresser. The possibilities are clearly endless, and so are the solutions. In Shishajan Flat Glass, we have solutions for all needs of the projects and unlimited creativity of architects. So please do not hesitate to ask any question to us, either in Q&A or through our email account. Thank you, Reza.
Thank you, Ezra. That was a lot of information. I think it's going to be helpful to us and the viewers as well. Bobby, you've been working so much. You've been so experienced with hospitality and various other projects. Could you talk something about some project where you've used glass extensively and something unique? Bobby, you're on mute.
Yeah, hi, Reza. Not so recent, but in the earlier part of my career, I did experiment a lot more with glass, and so much so that we made glass sculptures, glass staircases, interesting forms with glass using even optic glass. And we did result with some interesting things which I shall show you now.
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Now, what you see here is a large, it's one of the, perhaps one of the world's largest glass sculptures ever made. It was used using this German optic glass, which is used in, not in regular architectural glass facade panels and stuff. It's not float glass, it's optic glass. And we made this sculpture, which goes up to a height of around 35 feet. The ceiling height presently is at 40 feet. It was a 4.5 ton, glass sculpture that I had designed, and I had a very famous glass sculptor who built it for me. His name was Stephen Grumley. He's an American guy, but his workshop was out of Thailand. And I had seen his glass sculptures at various hotels worldwide, and he was most known. So I went and requested him if he could make something to my design, and that was the only time he actually built something for someone else. And he would proudly say that's amongst the best sculpture he has ever made. And so I used this as a sculpture, as a focal point of a really large, grand lobby a hotel in New Delhi, and the glass sculpture comes to life with certain lighting that we sort of flooded from the lower part. Example is.
So Bobby, my question to you is this in one piece? Did you get it in one piece, or you got it in different pieces and you got it fused on the side?
So it came in around 10 parts, and it's basically the glass is stacked over each other. And if you see at the back, there's a strong rib also that we done to strengthen the glass. It acts as a structural member, and it's completely freestanding. And the lighting, as you can see, it's from down up. And through the course of the day, the lighting plays an important role. In the morning, the whole backdrop is bright like sunlight coming in, and as the evening approaches, the backdrop, the alabaster wall starts becoming more dim, and the glass sculpture starts glowing, and the color varies from an ultramarine. It plays between blue and green tones only, and we put a bright light source at the top of the glass sculpture, which would make the top of the sculpture shine and glitter through the night. So at late in the night, when everything is very dim, it starts looking like this, where the blue has actually, filtered into the glass and gone halfway up, and the top is lit up with another light source. Then we further took the glass to another level where we made staircases, like, this is a 12 feet wide staircase made of glass, and it acts as a light fixture as well. And it's been already 15 years since I've constructed this, and nothing's ever broken, and it's very safe. People do get, kind of nervous because getting down, thinking that, you know, it is glass and it's unstable, but nothing has ever happened, and it's been and carries a big load of people climbing down this into a convention facility in the lower level. See, like the staircase acts as light fixture and, you know, gives out light at different times. This is from down up. And we worked out the, you know, structural system to hold this glass. And we were able to do all this in India, except for that big glass sculpture. But the whole system, structural system, all in stainless steel, we were able to engineer it here in India itself. This was at the Sahara Star. Also, we had done this dome was actually done by my senior partner in the project, which was Mr. Upasani, DM Upasani, who had decided to cover up the earlier Center Hotel, this huge dome. So it's a combination of glass, PTFE and ETFE. So the three materials that make this massive dome. It's 50,000 square feet dome of one of the world's largest composite dome structure. We also had an interesting building curved glass facade for the same building. As you might have seen, this is, you know, at the Bombay airport, and because of the lighting along with the curved glass, even the internal experience, I could not get hold of the picture, but the exterior rooms also, the glass is curved and gives a pretty interesting, like a bubble feel once inside the room, the guest rooms. Inside the building, there's another glass sculpture which I found worth showing it to you. And this is a top view of the glass staircase descending down from the upper level. This is how it looks. And we purposely did not put like handrails, so as to make this look like a sculpture. And those strings that you see on the sides, they are more for, it's not really structural. In case you were to lose balance or something, you have at least something to hold on to. So that's part of the whole sculpture. We did some interesting ceilings here also, where the entire ceiling, you know, is a glass ceiling or with sky above you, and when it rains or, you know, an aircraft flying over you, it's a spectacular feel. In the daytime, you can see how this works, and the structural system was very interesting because all each DGU, these doubly glazed glass panel units, they were suspended with metal cables. It's not a rigid structure. It actually bounces. If you from down, if you were to press up, you know, the whole thing would actually move up. It's supple, and these glass panels were placed between these cable systems, and we filled up the joints with silicone. I had a friend who was able to make this, Dhananjay Dhake from Pune. He was able to make this for me, and resulting in this very, very unique glass ceiling.
Awesome, Bobby. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very insightful, and I think the viewers would enjoy. And we've seen most of these actually at the hotel itself. Great work.
Okay, so now I need to get out of this. Yeah.
So, Santha, do you appreciate transparent design, especially in public spaces? Santha?
Yes, sorry, my mic was on mute. You don't get used to, unmuting yourself. Yes, I find glass an amazing material, very versatile, lends itself to almost anything. Bobby's work was fantastic. I mean, exterior building glazing we've all seen, but Bobby's work in glass and interiors was fantastic. Yes, uh, I really think that glass has a lot of possibilities, and the most surprising one I recently found was the installation or the toilet designed in Tokyo for a public park by Shigeru Ban.
Right.
It's really wonderful. I mean, it addresses so many issues that they have, and nobody would have thought that glass would lend itself to solving a safety and a security issue. I mean, I'll just maybe share screen and just take the people who have joined on this discussion to that. So it's really wonderful. Just a second. So you can see my screen, is it currently? Yeah. Yes. So of course, this is a bit of my work, but I will maybe come to that later. But the question you had asked was for this. I think this is the one that you asked. So this is the toilets that Shigeru Ban architects have created for a public park in Tokyo. And I really, really love this. It acts as a beautiful lantern at night. And I mean, the key issue that they were addressing is that people always feel apprehensive when they visit a public toilet, thinking that there might be somebody hanging around there, who might just attack them or something. And this really solves the problem. Regarding the transparency as to if you are using the washroom, it's a switchable glass. You just turn the knob and it becomes opaque. And at the same time, it's got a beautiful aesthetic to it. So I really love this work, appreciated this in glass a lot. That's about it. And going to our work, it's so this is the elevation for the International Cruise Terminal, again a public building, and that's a long facade of around 250 meters on one side, and that's east and western facing. So we are using glass and bent glass on this entire facade. Of course, we're not using just plain simple glass, but going in for its variants, adding a decent vacuum gap to it, adding coatings to it. So just using that basic construction material and adding more and more, accessorizing it better makes it so much more versatile. It lends itself to the building, makes it beautifully transparent. At the same time, gives you the privacy. If you add the certain kind of sunshades, it becomes fantastic. Like you can see the sunshades. This is on the western facade where you have extreme heat coming in from the western facade, where we are creating this kind of sunshades in exterior fabric of the building, which will take care of the heat coming into the building. This is another of our projects that we had done for Tata's. This was in Indore, where we did an entire sun path diagram just to see how much of heat load is coming in and what kind of glass would be suitable, the exact kind of lamination that would be suitable. So below you had retail, above you had a commercial complex. The above part had solar panels, which also lent itself very nicely to this public place. This, of course, is like a standard elevation in glass. But of course, there is so much you can do to glass, the colors, the coatings, the film that you can add to it, the sunshades that you can add to it, and so on. So this building for L&T that we are doing is currently angled in such a way. We did a lot of research just to see that the sun hits it at the right angle so that it does not intake a lot of heat coming into the building. Various other projects happening in glass. This is happening in Jammu. And of course, the recent teeny tiny project that I really love. So that's about it. My love for glass has been there for a long time, and of course, it's definitely going to stay for times to come.
Thank you, Santha.
Thank you.
It's great. I mean, I just want to know the blue shade was the glass and the rest was the shades for the glass, right? In the
Yes,
same,
absolutely. The different shades, yes.
Right. Okay. I want to just share something after you've shared. I just thought of sharing something what we are doing, and this is a project in my hometown in Iran, and this is an IT building. So we took all the concepts that is there of an IT building, and we took because this city is a 2,500-year-old city. It's a World Historic Site. And it has got a lot of the mud houses and the mud structures that is there. And it has a particular characteristic. So we got those characteristics, like the external is almost, the exterior facade is got, it's closed. It doesn't have anything. And all the buildings, there are 3 blocks to it because there are different users there. So each of them have got an atrium, and they are inward looking, as well as there is a double wall that is there outside. There's a double screening. So there's a facade outside with photovoltaic cells, because the heat is very good there. So the electricity, the energy generation is very good, and it keeps the sandstorm out. So we worked this out, and it's an IT building. So what we did is, on the atrium, we came up with this concept of the motherboard, and we are doing a laser printing on the glass, which is a laminated glass with the laser printing. So I just thought I should show this. So this is the way how we have the central atriums, the internal courtyard kind of things. And that's the final product, and the double wall, double skin that is there in the facade. Ravi, I'd like to ask you, what do you think about what's your thoughts on parametric ideas? What's your thought on parametric structures and the use of glass externally? Ravi, you're on mute.
Yeah, it's an interesting sort of phenomena that's happening world over. It's a kind of a semantic which was always ingrained in the way we kind of thought of doing many objects without having the perception of resolutions of geometry. But now it's becoming an expressive idea of how you can bring in the structure or the skeleton of the geometry and make it a visible factor. For example, when you look at glazing or glass systems using, manets or bolting systems, you actually have a strange structural phenomena that happens to these junction elements, which is parametric in nature, because it allows deflection. The joinery is so intelligent that it allows multiple dimensions of sort of stresses that can come onto a junction and behave in a three-dimensional sort of stress alignment method. So therefore, parametric has been intrinsically there in many structural ideas of how things were getting results. And today we see that in glass, we in the technology of glazing systems more so, and a couple of projects that you tend to see for very high-end stores, where people have even started ballooning glass and making bubbles out of it and using it on external wall panels. Or even we've used extensively channel glazing, which is a pyrolytic kind of a glass element, where you use that as a channel system and use it as a walling system. So there are so many new ideas that you can envisage the idea of glass. For example, when the great hotel that was done in Dubai many years back, the Burj Al Arab, when they decided to actually floor the whole hotel with glass, artificial glass, which is used as marble. This was an unheard sort of phenomena, but today the technology of malleability of a silica element to new methods is fantastic. So what we can transform out of it is possible, and parametric is a new expressive geometry of that idea. So I think it has many possibilities in resolution and innovations.
Great, thank you. Naveen, you've been in the industry since, I think, what, 4 decades?
Almost four.
Almost 4 decades. So you've started your career with doing single windows, the sliding windows or the openable windows, the aluminum windows, the normal 50% that single track normal track windows, and today what you are doing. I mean, could you take us through the journey of glass with your experience?
Glass is phenomenal. Without glass, there will be no aluminum fabrication company, or there will be no architect who will be able to enjoy the structure, or no builder to enjoy his own building. You can see the smile on Ravi's face while I'm saying this, and on your own face. Glass is an element which, like you said, started 3,000 years ago, but I say really triumphed in the year around 1850s. And the first building that they ever did was the London Crystal Palace, which came up in London, and if you Google. And when we came back to India, I would say around 1981, 82, the first type of sliding windows actually emerged in this country. And I still remember Hirandanis were the first builder, and they made their big building called Lake Castle. And then on the other side was Lokhandwala complex, which came up, and where Ravi's good friend of RSP today, is there, who was actually a Lokhandwala man. And from there, the single glass emerged into double glass, sliding windows, sliding doors. And then we got into like a lovely presentation that the young lady put up. And we were talking about solar factors, and there was screen printed glass, and there was low E factors. So glass is too complex a subject, it's too deep. And each one and every building, Reza for that matter, has their own pluses and their minuses. And it's actually become today a custom design product building wise. It's like saying, facade for a commercial building is different. A facade for a commercial building with, let's say for a commercial office building is different. A commercial showroom building is different. It's like people just today still talk in India. I'm sorry, young lady from Turkey, but they still talk about what is the cost of glass. And they talk about, I want it cheaper, or I want it in square feet, or I want it in square meter. But very few people get down to, Reza, the reality of understanding the thicknesses, the composition, the PVB, the solar factors, the radiation factors, the U values, or even the screen printing. And I think this has been a journey which today people have started understanding, not to an extent that they should, but I think by and large people are educated, architects know the subject, facade consultants know the subject, builders who make buildings for themselves get more involved in understanding the subject. So I think this is a very positive way, and the way it's going to move ahead. That's the journey.
Thank you, Naveen. Bobby, may I ask you, I mean, when we're doing so much of glass in the ceiling, in the wall, and the staircase and all, so what do you think? I mean, people have a lot of apprehension when they walk onto glass. Like we went to even Seoul, where we went into the what's that, bottle opener building, the Coca-Cola bottle opener building, and the glass is all on the 60th floor or something. It's got a total glass bridge, and you walk over, or even the frame in Dubai where there's glass and you're walking over glass. Or even when we initially did the swimming pool in Marine Plaza, Naveen was there and everybody was there, and they were really worried about, that people would get into the pool or not. So what do you think about that? I mean, we're using it so extensively. What do you think? People are a little apprehension about glass being not safe.
See, initially, while making it, that was the apprehension from my side as well as from the client side, but we still decided to take the bold step, and it was just a matter of time before people realized that it was a stable structure, and people now have been using it for years. It's been over a decade.
Yeah, I know even the swimming pool when we did at Marine Plaza, it was the same thing. People were scared and they were really this thing. Now it's been 20 years plus, Naveen.
Exactly, yeah. Like even on there are stuff like this around the world now. There are these cantilevered structures, in precarious position, like something over Grand Canyon, and people initially feel scared, stepping on it. Then just a few seconds, human beings adapt very well to it. And end of it is, the end experience, you know, if it's wow, you know, you've done your job right. You know? Even that, the lobby structure, the one under the glass sculpture, the entire floor, you know, as Ravi was speaking, it's actually white glass panels. The entire lobby of that 15,000 square feet lobby was thick glass panels made by a Japanese company called Neo Paris. Now they were the ones who do power transmission equipment, and the glass is used in the transmission equipment. They realized that they can make a building material out of that, and they decided to make, you know, panels out of that. So we were amongst the first users for that material. The only other hotel I think they use it is in the Fairmont in Dubai. You know, it's those big white glass flooring is actually glass. It's opaque glass. So if you do want to reduce the feeling of fear, we put a little dots on the glass or some ribs on it, make it semi-translucent, so that people don't freak out. You know, that they might, you know, it might break, or it sort of makes them feel more safe. So we do certain things like that. Right. But you can create some fantastic stuff if you are able to use the glass well. For example, in that roof, in the glass roof, during Bombay monsoons, when the rain falls over that glass and it, it drips down, it's an amazing experience sitting under that, doing a meeting with, you know, this heavy downpour over your head. And so what we did was, even at night time, we put in lights which would focus upwards into the sky. So it would capture the raindrops, you know, falling on the glass. Excellent. You know, so all these sexy stuff you can do with, I don't think there's any other material. Absolutely. Like, you know, the opaque, it's called Chrysalix glass or something that Santha was talking about. We did a hotel where all the bathrooms are made of that in Bangalore, and it's pretty known internationally. In India, it's not that common. So people who use that, they get so amazed by seeing that transparent glass becoming opaque with the press of a switch or button, and it becomes unique. And you know, small things like this also adds to the sale value of that property. You know, they have a lot of repeat guests coming in. You know, they enjoy all these technical stuff. You know, actually, this glass has been there since the 1980s, but it was too prohibitively expensive, because of which it was not used much. And now the price is down to like 1/3 of what used to be there. So we should be using all this. Right.
Islam, what do you think about the, what do we look at, how do we look at glass now? Because you've showed us, you know, so much office with glass, there's partitions of glass. What do you think about the echo in a room? And what about the, you know, settling of bacteria? Because they say that bacteria remains on glass for a longer time. So what do you think about that? Or what's the solution you would come up with?
Thank you, Reza. First of all, let's start with echo. For the echo, as I mentioned, yes, we have glass all over our office. As I mentioned, we are living in the heart of glass. But we solve this problem by using soft materials together with the glass material. So for all of the problems you have, we have a solution, but we need to solve the problem on project basis. So by just adding soft materials into the interior, we solve this problem. We have acoustic materials in the interior in order to solve this echo problem. Yes, for balancing. About bacteria, for houseware, we have a technology which is called reblock, which is developed by our R&D center. At the moment, our R&D center is working on this project. They would like to apply this technology to architectural glass. But when compared to the other elements, glass is more hygienic. So at the moment in our restaurants, in our cafes, we are using glass as a barrier. When compared to other materials, it's much more hygienic, but with the development of the V-block technology for architectural glass, we will solve this problem immediately and will share with, of course, the architects as soon as possible.
I think Gaurav wants to come in. He's got a few questions from the audience. Please,
Hi, good
Gaurav.
evening. Yes, I'll try to take in. We've got a lot of questions. I think a lot have been answered by the Shishijam team. I think architect Santha has answered a few over there as well, but please allow me to take these questions. So this is from Noor Sharif. Is photochromic glass that encompass coating of silver halide, which changes from clear to dark depending on sunlight, to regulate transmission of heat better, or electrochromic using electric through paints? So which is better between the two?
I think Ezra, you or anybody could take the question.
Okay, let me answer if you want. At the moment, we are having collaborations or joint ventures with some companies, and we are still working on electrochromic glass. According to the needs of the project, it differs. So I would like to answer this question about I cannot see, by the way, the question on the Q&A.
No, that's in the chat.
That's in the chat. Okay, okay. So many things on the chat. Sorry, I missed it. So I would like to answer this question according to the project. Okay, because this is a very, very specific question. We don't have a photochromatic glass at the moment, but we are working on our electrochromatic glass. Our R&D is working on it.
I think let me put a question to Ravi till she just comes back, Ravi, what do you think about, glass and our climate? I mean, since you are working on so many sustainable projects and everything, so what do you think using glass as a, facade, and what is the repercussions of that?
I think, every material, as Peter Zumthor writes in his book, Materiality, is divine. It has a certain aspect to it where you can explore potentials of how it actually nurtures nature, and response to it can be very, very intelligent to the idea of design. One of the projects I want to share quickly is a couple of pictures. Yeah, let me try and see. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Is a project that we did in Pune, which is primarily a large R&D center, a very complex laboratory. But the way we kind of, managed to change the nature of how this design worked was very intelligent for us in terms of our response to the landscape and to the nature in which glass was actually detailed. For example, every element of glass panel, which is very large, is more than 17 or 18 different elements which come together. So we said this is a tropical climate, very hot weather, and it was designed in such a way that we create a huge landscape labyrinth, very intense landscape and make the whole building completely transparent. So when you actually sit in the offices and the laboratories, you actually experience full sheet of glass, right from the edge line of the zero line of your flooring to the zero line of your ceiling. You're completely transparent to the landscape, and you can actually look at the plants and the green. So we started working extensively with the exterior scape to make this experience more complete. The added advantage for us was creating a good landscape for, making that visual connect between the inside and the outside. But at the same time, each of the glass panel being stretched to the whole extent of the floor plate, and varying the method in which you create shading devices. Here, if you see, the ground level is completely transparent. The second level has a higher grade of U value. The third level has a stainless steel mesh to it with deep pergolas. And then the last level, which houses mostly services and a few laboratories, has a lot of blank walls. So this kind of an articulation where architecture and design gets governed by the nature of the tropicalness of its response, and also the requirement of how you weather your services and engineer efficiency into your building becomes very, very important in its response and reaction. So, when you look at this building, it might look very simple in terms of its geometry and plan and the nature of its articulation. But, huge number of consultants and specialists were involved in trying to articulate the quality of glass and the nature of each junction, each element. You have this real timber reams on the edge lines of these very thin sections of plate aluminum, and all the horizontals are very much minimal expressed, where it becomes like a plate joint for the fire seal, and it connects, logically to this kind of extensive, intense landscape that surrounds. So we were actually appointed as consultants to do every bit of the job, including the interiors, landscape, architecture, glazing systems, and the whole master plan. So it was a factor of joy for us to experiment an all glass building and try to see how you can make that like a pavilion in landscape. So this becomes an exercise how you articulate design. So for me, I think what is paramount is the nature of articulation of design, as Zumthor rightly articulates it, also saying that the way we create transition becomes a huge success story in the tropical world, and that could be a story of resolution. Where I'm sitting right now is an office which is 25,000 square feet, completely built out of timber and glass. These were my first lessons that I learned from Lucho when I learned and did a course with him in Permiso on glass technology. If you look at Sydney Opera House, the whole building has an exterior skin made out of glass and timber, and the first experiments of structural glazing technology was done using timber elements with glass. It's nothing to do with aluminum. It has nothing to do with all the kind of complex junctions that you are able to fabricate today using extrusions of aluminum. It was all done out of timber, which is fantastic for this Italian sort of marvelous architect to design that exterior skin for John Woodzot. So there are ways in how you can design even the most invisible junctions in a very intelligent way to create these possibilities, I think. And that is the parameter that we can explore.
Great. Ezra, are you ready with the answer, or would you like to share?
I will share it later on, Reza.
Okay.
Can I take some other questions in that case?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so this one is to the panelists from India. Do you see glass consumption to increase post-COVID due to social distancing? Example in cinema halls, hotels, airports, etc. Specifically in India.
Santha, you want to take that?
Honestly, I don't see how it's connected. Very honestly, I mean, yes, glass is easy to maintain, it's easy to clean, but so are a lot of other materials, definitely. But I don't think it's anything to do with COVID, but the sheer fact that it's a beautiful material, it's transparent, it's nice, it has colors, it has so many nice things. So Yes, I think it's here to stay, and I don't think COVID is going to affect its adaptability. It's anyways a good material. Nothing. I think it's just fine. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
Bobby,
think this one.
you want to add to it because you've been doing a lot of restaurants and you've been doing a lot of interiors with glass. So would you like to add something to that?
See, glass is something that definitely produces better hygiene levels. I've seen that. Problem is to do with the acoustics. You know, you get such strong glass that you can use it on tabletops, wall paneling, elevator. You know, the entire the insides of elevators can also be in back painted glass or so many other kinds of glass, and it's so easy to clean and disinfect. So I think if this COVID thing is here to stay for a long time, glass is a good material to start using in terms of increasing hygiene levels. But I'm optimistic that this COVID thing's not going to be here forever. So we'll be back to good old wood and soft materials.
No,
I
I
was
also
looking at
think.
Isra, she was getting very excited with what you're saying about glass is going to be extensively used. She was very happy that glass the business is going to grow. But then at last you just turned it.
Yeah.
Glass is going to stay, COVID or no COVID, but the
COVID,
budget
exactly.
is going to be tight.
Yeah.
The budgets are going to be tight now. Everybody is going to ask for what more can we get for the same price.
I
So-
think architect Esra has said that she would like to take up this question, which is, I need glass with solar or solar shingles.
Yes, we are also producing glass for solar energy sector. So whenever you need, we may help with it too. So just email us, okay, through archglass@cetech.com, and we will answer it immediately.
Okay.
Can
I
I
mean,
be
you want
permitted to take?
to add something? I mean, you've done so many exciting projects for over the years. Would you like to add or share some project which you did, with the viewers and with the panelists?
No, I don't have any photograph here to put up, but I can tell you so much that which I like to share with everybody, that glass is so versatile that it's flowing through and it's got a visual flow of strength, similarly to what we just saw on the staircase and we saw on the many different pictures that Bobby put up. But by and large, I think that in today's world and in the market henceforth, people are going to look at very clear, crystal clear, double glazed, well insulated glass which keeps the sun out and which brings in low emissivity glass on the other side. And it's going to be a good job. We've done so much of work all over that I don't need to explain. But India is also now looking at curved glass, is looking at a lot of different types of visual glass. We're doing a job in Calcutta for Trump Towers International, and I know the way they're looking at. And this is something interesting for Ravi, for you, and for Bobby, and for Santana, who are all architects. And this is the first time I'm working on a building which is a box building that goes up as good as 55 floors high. But two sides of the elevation, they're taking a darker gray, and two sides of the elevation, they're taking a lighter gray. And they're taking a darker gray because the sun is going to be stronger on that side, so that when you're eventually inside, you get the same amount of emissivity and you get a different aesthetic appeal. It's an American architect, but it's now coming. That kind of age is now coming into India. That I find very interesting. To see that for me over the years to change and is something different. So I think it's here with a very different concept.
Great. Gaurav, you got another question?
I think Mr. Naveen has answered the question which was put by Rutu, but there are a lot of questions which have come for what has been spoken by each panelist. Over here, for that, it's best to actually put them forward because there are, I think, a lot of questions. But is it true that a tempered low iron glass will not have the risk of spontaneous breakage? This question's from Jason.
It's, I may answer. Sorry.
Okay, Isra.
Okay, so we usually recommend, sorry Naveen, I'm so sorry. We usually recommend to use temperable in triple glazing unit, the middle pane, for the middle pane, we recommend to have the ultra clear glass, annealed ultra clear glass or temperable float glass. For thermal breakage risks. On the other hand, according to the needs of the project, in some places where you have to take precautions, either you have to use safety and security glass. So we need to answer this question according to the project basis. So Naveen, so sorry.
No problem.
You want to add something?
We were asked that question. That in India, we look at the word, safety and temperable as toughened and heat strengthened. The question is that when do we use toughened glass and when do we use heat strengthened glass is another subject. So whoever asked that question is a simple question that toughened you normally use when, it breaks down into small particles, and heat strengthened when it goes into shears. But heat strengthening has got lesser distortion, and the spontaneous breakage normally comes from a subject issue of nickel sulfide. So that's a separate subject, and we can always reply to you on email if you send the question.
Can I take up some more questions, or at least
Please.
one more? Yeah, okay.
Please.
So
How much
where
time
do you see, we are at 10 minutes past 6. I think we can take about a question or two more if you permit me, Reza sir.
Please. Yeah.
Okay. Where do you see the future where technology and mirror or glass go hand in hand? Like already there is a trend in smart mirror. So in future, where does a tech glass or smart glass stand?
Ravi, you want to take that?
Can you just repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. Where do you see the future where technology and mirror or glass go hand in hand? Like already there is a trend in smart mirror. So in future, where do you see a tech glass or a smart glass stand?
I think it's very specific to a building idea, how we would want to use each of the possibilities or the significance of glass elements in different areas. For example, to look at smart mirrors or what they call as coated surfaces on glass, where nano coating technologies are now available, and it's becoming mandatory for a lot of surfaces which are accessible for people to touch to also have possibilities for nano coated glass surfaces, or even to kind of switch off, switch on potentials of mirroring is a possibility to reduce ingress of a lot of heat and radiations which you do not want to welcome to planes. And especially if you are able to do, like the project I showed has 3 layers of glass, and it has various layers of butyl layers in between, or kind of lamination layers. So you can actually activate each of these layers to be intelligent to a certain nature of the year or the time of the year, so that it's specific to that. For example, a weather climate has very good, heat temperatures for 4 months during winter and monsoon, whereas the 3 harsh weather conditions of summer can be very complicated. So glass technology can become sensitive, by these physically activated or active methods of rearticulating a glass to weather, to external grades of reactions. So that way, in terms of increasing the intelligence of glass, can be a new answer to the method in which technology answers can be better for a building facade. And it's quite interesting to see today that when I work with developers, it's a very good news for Naveen. Most people, developers, are now wanting to make the building all glass. They tell us that it's more cheaper to do than building masonry, doing plastering works, or pulling up all the block works or concrete panels to such huge heights, or complicated wall paneling, where you end up spending more than glass, more than doing other possibilities. So the developer market is turning the tables around. they tell me that, Ravi, you build a, you know, like this complex job that we did in Bombay for the Netherlands, which is almost 5.5 million square feet. When you realize that actually building a wall and then adding a shading element to the external of that wall is more expensive than doing, you know, glass surfaces. So therefore, there is a very didactic sort of, you know, situation in such arguments. So therefore, technology here is to stay, and how much we can, you know, invest in active systems is definitely is going to make the glass more intelligent. But I am more the soothsayer to make everything passive. You know, it's always nice for us to believe that one day the electricity in the world will be shut off. So we have to figure out how we can live a sustainable life and live with sun and moon and the stars and the weather in more joy space than trying to hold anything that is artificial. You want to hold the woman who's a woman, you know? So therefore, so you don't want to live with technologies which are not accurate to any natural phenomena. So I think that is very, very important.
Thank you.
So yeah, actually moving forward, I think technology is going to play a very important role. I would, you know, envisage, I would think, you know, glass should become so flexible, like you can just take a sheet of glass and you can just fold it and you can put it in your pocket and go. So, I mean, something that's very futuristic, but I don't think it's far away looking, you know, at the technology and, you know, things that are coming up. Isra, that's this thing for your company. Maybe you can come up with something, you know, which you can actually just roll up or fold it and put it in your pocket and then, you know, go ahead.
But I have a question.
Like
I have a question to
like
you,
the
Rita.
mobiles that have come in, you know, with the folded mobiles. So you just fold it here and then you fold it and you open and you have the full screen. So I would say, you know, something coming like a folding and you put it in your pocket and you go ahead.
I have
Just like in Hollywood films.
I have a question for you, Reza. You know, when I look at most of your designs, the origin of that, I want to ask you whether it is the idea of design or is it the idea to make it technology intensive and to make it very, very provocative in terms of the technology ability rules first. What do you think is your first principle? Because you're a very futuristic designer in all your you know, present portfolios that I see of yours.
Thank you, Ravi. It's like the horse before the cart, you know, kind of a situation, I think. But you have to, I mean, you know it yourself much, I mean, quite a bit. So you have to strike the balance. You have to look at the client's budget. You have to look at the technology that's available, and you have to look at the maintenance of the, you know, after the project is handed over. So yeah, you have to look at all these aspects and you have to see which is best suited for your project and the location of the project, and then you go ahead.
Very interesting. Naveen, I have a question for you. You being one of the largest and the super big man of glazing industry for the country, other than money, what project interests you the best?
Complex projects. Give me a building with more than 4 sites. I still remember a building we did years ago for last September in BKC, and it had 17 sites called the National Stock Exchange of India. So the complexity of 17 different turnings at the corners and at 5 different levels, we turned it up and down. I still haven't seen a building more complex. But there was the foreign architect in the government project, there was Larsen and Toubro, there was Alucobond, there was glass, there was everything. So what I'm coming to is that I think by and large, everything today gets very complex, and it's interesting to work on complex projects, either in terms of the design of the project or in the anchoring or in the structuring, or then you have interesting architects to work with like you, like Reza, like Bobby, and the world is an ocean. The world is an ocean.
And how do you grade India in terms of its technology usage on glass in parallel to the rest of the world? Forget budgets, forget cost of a project, but where do you think it's at?
I think there's very good technology available in India. Technology is here now for export, and the best unitized systems are made in India. And they are very complex. They are 3 barrier, 4 barrier, 5 barrier, double walled, horizontal stack sections, if I'm talking technically. And the technology is here. And the budgets are also here. Let me tell you, there are 2 types of builders. There are 2 types of buildings. There are commercial builders and there are those people who also have big budgets. tech operates, there's no looking back. There's no looking back.
And in terms of manufacture of glass as a material, India is in good strength compared to the rest of the world.
India is in good strength. India is in good strength, but there are a lot of other complexities of glass which you're looking for a certain different type of glass, like she just mentioned, in terms of triple glass, or in terms of looking at it at one level ahead. It's always saying that a little more is available overseas because of the machinery, and it's not that it's not available here or it cannot be brought in here. The only problem, like we discussed before, is that when you work with a foreign glass, we have to always worry about getting the right replacement on time and in time, from where I'm coming. At the end of the day, it's the fabricator's responsibility to start a project on time, finish on time, and there are responsibilities to that extent.
Which is the biggest blunder that you've done with glass? I mean, that's for you.
I'm shooting, I know it's for me. You see, the biggest blunder that we've ever done with glass is that if you start working on a project without doing the structural calculations on the glass thickness, on the width and the dimension and the size of glass, it's one part. And what I consider a blunder is that being over-ambitious in trying to satisfy, and I'm hitting straight below the belt, is trying to satisfy the architect's dream, the architect's vision. We worked on a project for Tata Realty India Limited in Chennai, and I don't want to name the architect, but the building was big. Again, Larsen Toubro was the civil contractor, and the size of the unitized panel was, because they wanted to save cost, because the manufacturing cost size of the glass was 4.2 by 2.25. They asked us to incorporate a glass of 4.2 in the width and 2.4 in the height. And then they made the panel still higher to make it again 4.2 in height. So we did the whole glass, we toughened it, we put a double glass and we put a panel on the top. And the biggest blunder was putting 8 panels in a truck and sending it from the Hyderabad factory to Chennai. And then you had loaded 2 on the left, Reza, and 2 on the right. And same thing goes for Bobby to here. And that was not an issue. We did all that. We had the cranes, we had the EOTs. We landed up there. We realized between Chennai and between Hyderabad, there were 2 power lines on the road that came down. So the glass and the truck couldn't cross the road. Then we had to wait, go back to the local cop station, local police station, local, there were 2-3 rules that we went through. 7 days, the first truck was stuck. And then they gave us permission. The permission was both sides, they put up wooden posts and they lifted the power cables. So that was blunder, not understanding transportation and always saying yes
Logistics.
Thank you, sir. Always saying yes to the architect. I've taken too much time, but I've explained it to you.
Logistics is very important. Right. So, talking about futuristic thing, we tried a very interesting structure. So we were doing a mall for the Vadhva group at Navi Mumbai Vashi railway station. And we thought we will do the tensile roof on the atrium, which was about 40,000 square feet. And while we were discussing with the client said, what is this life of tensile? It's going to be 5 years, 10 years, or you got to, replace it. And then we came up with this thing and we did the tensile structure in the shape. We did the glass, we did the roofing with glass in the shape of a tensile structure. And it was all laminated glass with ball socket joints. And it's been up for, I think, almost 15, 18 years. And it's a very interesting structure. So glass can be used, in many forms and many ways. And that project actually taught us, that we can do anything with glass. The other one was, again, Mega Mall at Andheri. And there we did the free flowing. We did an amoebic design on the roof. And there again, it just flows, and we took glass and we did the whole roof covering. So a lot of interesting things can be done with glass. And we're looking forward for more stuff to come from the glass manufacturers. And you, Naveen, we can dream it, but you have to actually implement it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. With pleasure.
Gaurav, over to you.
Can we take one last question, because we've been talking of tier 2, tier 3 rural, and we've been talking about migrants. We do have a lot many questions which are directed to architect Reza, to architect Ravindra, to Mr. Naveen Keswani, to architect Santha, and to Bobby sir as well. But I'm going to request them to follow the pages and to email them, because otherwise it's going to just go on. We've got about 40-50 questions there. But please allow me to take this, if I'm permitted. Do you think glass has an advantage over brick and mortar, especially in the time that it takes to build compared to brick? And to the respected Indian panelists again, will glass usage in houses increase in rural part of India and in tier 2, tier 3 cities? So if we could take just those up.
Ravi or Santha, you want to take it?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it has an advantage on brick and mortar. Glass definitely has, because it's faster to construct, a faster turnaround. But then every material, I think all architects will agree, every material has its own romance. So if you are constructing a house or a villa, and the client does not really like glass, or for whatever reason they want a certain privacy or a certain look that we are defining, or we are doing vernacular architecture, then definitely brick and mortar stays. So it really is contextual, it's project to project. But if we are just purely talking timelines, then yes, definitely it wins over brick and mortar any day.
No, but I would say, Ravi, please, Ravi.
If you look at historically how the Japanese architecture changed from vernacular to modernity, or how, works in Jogja or Jakarta, Bali, the transformed Indonesian architecture from vernacular to modernity. If you look at that, it's quite interesting to see how glass played a very important role in creating the idea of minimalism, to connect the tropical sort of transitions and make a very minimal sort of impact of its existence as a building material idea. So therefore, I'm sure, Gaurav, to answer to your specific question, the vernacular is going to start learning the methods in which glass can become accessible easily. You can erect them and use that to an advantage, which would read the sort of vernacular connect to landscape. I think when technology meets that intrinsic nature of the nature of man wants to cohabit with nature accurately, everything becomes accurate and normal. And I think the factor that glass as a material has this possibility to become very minimal in intrusion has a huge focus for its possibilities in the vernacular or in the rural eventually in the future. Sorry, Reza.
Yeah, what I wanted to add is, sorry, I just want to add, that when you do, I mean, it's not faster. It's the point that we have to get to is that you have to detail it out right. If you don't detail it out right, because glass can be a nightmare if you do not detail it out right. You do a glass structure and you have water going into the structure and you have a major problem. So I think detailing is a very important aspect of any construction, but for glass, I think it's very important. Naveen can let us know, we did some projects where the detailing, because the client didn't want to spend a lot of money, he wanted to just make the facade look glass. And eventually what happened, they landed up with a mess. And, we had to really actually remove all the glasses and, redo it with brick and mortar. So it has to be detailed right. And you should be prepared for the, expenses and the, yes, glass, you can do it fabricated outside and you just bring it and you can put it up on site. It does help. It is faster. No user.
Can I make an input?
Yeah, please.
Actually, when we checked the performances, glass took place of brick and mortar. When we compare 19 centimeter brick and plus 7 centimeters of mortar outside and inside in total, it makes almost 25 centimeters. And U value for this one is about 0.8 or 0.7. So when we have triple glazing unit with double coating, both on the outer, also in the inner pane, we reached to 0.7 U value. So actually glass took place of brick and mortar when you check it, when you look through the performance values. Of course, detailing or using the right glass in right place is extremely important. On the other hand, instead of using 25 centimeters, probably investors will be very happy when I share this. Instead of using 25 centimeters, in triple glazing unit, you are almost using 5 centimeters. So that 20 centimeter is a gain for investors when they are renting or selling the space.
Right.
I'll just
So you get
take this last
more
question.
carpet area. You get actually in Indian terms, you get more carpet area to the constructed area.
Just allow me to take this last question, please, before the parting note, since it's come. So I have been involved with large format glazing over 9-meter panels in Europe, ME and USA. And due to weight of the unit, seismic loads are imminent. My question is to Mr. Mukherjee, did you have to consider seismic load or have any local authority approval for your low meridian tall glass sculpture?
No, we didn't have any require any permissions, but I did have a structural engineer who did work out the foundations for that glass sculpture, because it weighed 4.5 tons of glass. So we did make a special foundation for that, and the glass component had its own engineering, which my friend Stephen Gromley, he figured out to keep the glass as rigid and stable as possible. So, and it also came in 10 parts. He had his Thai workers, craftsmen. They came and they assembled the sculpture at site. They did consider, I think, vibrations and stuff they did take it into account.
Okay, thank you. We do have a lot of questions for the individual eminent respected panelists, but this session has been visually appealing, aesthetic, has been inspiring, has given us a lot of clarity as the viewers have thanked us down there. If you allow me to take questions, or on a parting note, we could thank everybody. So thank you. We do have a lot of questions for each of the respected panel members. I'm going to request the viewers to follow them on the Instagram page, or you can write to us. We can share the email ID after taking consent from the respected members. You could put your questions forward since there are a lot. But on this parting note, the primary goal was to bring together the global diaspora of leaders in an open dialogue, which we have achieved. Thank you. I would like to give a special thanks to the respected moderator and the esteemed panelists. We are grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts and expertise. And thanks to our sponsor, Shishajam Flat Glass, for supporting this topic today. We would like to express our heartfelt thanks to each of you who participated in the webinar today. You made it a success. It was a great pleasure to see so many of you. We are sure that you found the webinar informative and that you could use this opportunity to extend your existing networks. Thank you so much. Looking forward, and we are sure for the continued support in the future.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Means a lot. Thank you so much.